Good afternoon. The Reverend Stephen Mann, the Director of Pastoral Care at the Johns Hopkins Hospital, will deliver the invocation.
Let us pray. O God, open our eyes and awaken our hearts to the presence of your Spirit dwelling among us in this hour as we celebrate the professional achievements of the young women and men gathered here. Many years of hard work have gone into the hope and excitement of this day. Remind these scholars that the sacrifices they have made to reach this goal were not theirs alone. Remind them that they stand on the countless shoulders of others who made similar sacrifices to perfect the arts and sciences related to human health and disease, just as those who have gone before them and the countless numbers who will in turn follow in their footsteps. Prepare them for this challenge and this responsibility, which will depend not just on the knowledge they have acquired here, but their own unique gifts and talents and the integrity of their human spirits. Reward them plentifully with your shalom, your salem, the peace of God, which binds us all as children of the human community. In God's holy and majestic name we pray. Amen.
Please be seated. Before I begin my remarks, I would like to inform you that all of the marshals here today were selected by the students. So I would like to congratulate the students on their selecting such an outstanding faculty to participate in this ceremony. Welcome. I am Ed Miller. I'm the Dean and CEO of Johns Hopkins Medicine, and I would like to welcome you to the 106th graduation of the School of Medicine of Johns Hopkins University. This is a proud day for the graduates, but equally a proud day for the parents, spouses, and loved ones who have supported the graduates to arrive at this day. Hopkins has a wonderful tradition of celebrating accomplishments, and today is one such day. Graduate exercises have not really changed much since the school opened 110 years ago, but the numbers have changed rather dramatically. The graduation's first class of medical students consisted of 15 students. In my role as Dean of the Medical School, I'd like to make a few brief remarks before the ceremonies begin. For the past 7 years, I have been privileged to lead the School of Medicine, and you have worked hard to learn and apply the information in your time here. I hope that you were taught the tools to continue to learn, because truly that was our goal. Your education will never cease if you strive to be the best at whatever you do. One of the reasons that you are here today is because of the efforts of the faculty. I, perhaps better than most, truly understand the superb faculty that we have. The intellect of the faculty is without peer. But what sets this faculty apart is their commitment to their students and to the School of Medicine. What makes Johns Hopkins Medicine so very special? As I look back on my time here, there is one event that stands out that is symbolic of our Hopkins heritage. Many of you know for the past several years, medicine has been under great pressures. Patients demand more personalized medicine, more personal contact time with their physicians, while at the same time wanting unencumbered choice of medical services. The gatekeeper concept of managed care has failed. And similarly, the public has demanded more accountability of how dollars were spent on research and what discoveries that were made in the lab needed to be translated into real clinical care. There was a growing mistrust of the medical profession and the research that was done. And all of these factors were playing out on the backdrop of decreasing reimbursement for medical care, while at the same time an increase in the uninsured population. Our institution was not protected from these external forces, and these forces were even magnified. We take care of a disproportionate number of individuals without insurance. The cost of medical education is not covered by tuition and scholarship dollars. Support for breakthrough research is not fully funded by the National Institutes of Health, and we were at a crossroads. We saw what other medical institutions were doing, and we didn't like what we saw. We saw mergers and acquisitions. We saw the purchase of physician practices. We saw the for-profit companies buy hospitals that were associated with medical schools. And we also saw financial hardship in some very well-known academic medical centers. We were concerned because our tripartite mission of clinical care, research, and teaching were at severe risk. Well, Hopkins has been through some rough times before, and those times were handled by faculty and staff working together. We therefore decided to pull our senior leadership together and openly discuss what we wanted to be, what was most important to us. I tell you this story because you were all a part of it. You lived it while you were here as a student, and when you leave here, you will take with you the heritage and the core values of Johns Hopkins. Now let me get back to the story. We really wanted to make sure that we were not lost, that we were fulfilling our mission, but we had to spell out those things that were most important to us. We decided to take our senior faculty and administrative staff away from East Baltimore for a short 2-day retreat. And we invited an author by the name of Jim Collins, who had written a very famous book called Built to Last. This is a well-known book in industry, but at the time had great relevance to Hopkins. The premise of the book is that a company or an institution will do well over the years if everyone in the company or institution knows and understands its core values and the purpose for which it exists. And Collins defines core values as the organizational's essential and enduring tenets, a small set of general guiding principles. Well, we started our 2-day retreat with a discussion by Jim Collins telling us about his research, viewing companies that were in similar markets, similar to each other. An example would be McDonnell Douglas versus Boeing Aircraft. He had looked at many companies that were in the list of the Fortune 500. He was trying to understand why one company over the years was more successful than the other. He emphasized that the employees within the successful companies understood and lived their core values. At the end of his discussion, he challenged us to break up into 6 groups of about 6 or 8 individuals each and take with them a large piece of paper and come back after a couple of hours with the 4 or 5 core values that they thought was most important for Hopkins. And each group worked independently, and after about 2 hours came together, and we started with each team posting their core values on the walls around the room. If you had been there, it would have been an eerie feeling. Despite the many possibilities that could have been chosen, all of the groups agreed about what our core values at Hopkins were. There was no particular order, and the words were changed a little bit, but between groups. But essentially, they spelled out our 4 major tenets upon which we operate. The first and overriding tenet was that integrity and collegiality were the most important values that we hold dear here at Hopkins. You, as students, only need to think about the culture in which you were a student to understand that. The ability to work across laboratories, work in clinical arenas, to work across departments are all of what makes Hopkins famous. The ethical care that we have for our patients, the exactness with which we do our research, all talk about the integrity being the most important of our values. The second value was to be excellent at whatever we do. This is not always easily accomplished, but as I look across the institution, whether it's in research, teaching, or clinical care, I find people trying to excel and to be the very best they possibly can in order to fulfill our mission of healing others. The third core value was to disseminate the information to the world, or, in other words, teach the world what we have learned at Johns Hopkins. We are not secretive of our findings, and we are more than willing to share the practice that we have found beneficial for patient care. One only has to look around at the roster of people who come from around the world to look at what Hopkins and to understand that teaching is an integral part of our core values. The fourth core value was to be innovative in everything that we do. The status quo will not suffice here. We need to look at new ways to deliver care, and we need to make new discoveries in the laboratories. We need to be able to take those discoveries from the laboratory and translate them into care for human beings. We need to find new ways to teach our information to our medical students and our pre-doctoral students. We need to make discoveries of instruments and the technologies that will further our mission. These four core values of collegiality and integrity, excellence, dissemination of information, and innovation are the hallmarks of Johns Hopkins Medicine. When you leave this institution, you will take those core values with you, and if you adhere to those core values in your personal lives, you will find that the world will be a better place because of it. It is our heritage and is what we believe in. You are now our ambassadors of that message as you go out into the world to do research, give clinical care, or whatever else you choose to do. I wish you well in your future. You have been given a strong foundation upon which to build your professional life, and these core values are the pillars upon which your professional career should be built. I am proud of you today and trust you are proud to be a member of the Johns Hopkins family. I hope to see you in the future at Hopkins or somewhere around the world. Congratulations. The induction ceremony for the Society of Scholars was held yesterday afternoon. I would like to introduce you to the Society of Scholars inductee who is here today. Please stand and be recognized. Dr. Herbert Vogt, Professor, Department of Biomedical Engineering, Boston University, Boston, Massachusetts. Dr. Vogt, thank you for being with us. I would now like to introduce Dr. Frank Herlong, the Associate Dean for Student Affairs. Dr. Herlong.
Good afternoon. It's truly a great privilege for me to share this special day with you and your families, for this ceremony represents the culmination of many years of dedication and hard work. I've been truly fortunate to share these past years with you and see you progress from being a college graduate to now a doctor. During this time, you've made tremendous contributions to our community in so many ways and have clearly made us a better school by your attendance here. And writing your dean's letters last year, I came to realize the amazing diversity of your backgrounds, your interests, and your talents. For instance, as a class, you grew up in Chicago, Washington, D.C., San Antonio, Boston, Beverly Hills, Paradise, Utah, Big Spring, Texas. Oh, and yes, Glasgow and Athens. That's Glasgow, Kentucky, and Athens, Ohio. You come from families who've lived in this country for generations, and you immigrated here as a child. Your parents are college professors, and you are the first in your family to go to college. Over the years, you've received so many merit scholarships that the value, I'm sure, would exceed the net worth of our entire faculty. Your array of honorary societies would exhaust the Greek alphabet. You've traveled to over 50 different countries, and you speak 9 different languages. You've played on varsity teams and for symphony orchestras, and you've been the captain of the team, and you've given solo performances. You've worked in the offices of United States senators and on presidential campaigns. You've been a professional writer, an investment banker, you hold patents, and you've been a landscape laborer. You've served food to patrons at faculty clubs, at upscale restaurants, and to the homeless at a Salvation Army shelter. You've been the president of your student body, a National Merit Scholar, a Fulbright Scholar, and a big brother and a big sister. You taught students at a prestigious New England prep school and in remote villages in Honduras. Your research credentials are impressive enough to earn for many of you faculty positions at many medical schools, and your projects span the gamut of basic and clinical investigation, from fundamental cancer biology to the epidemiology of baseball injuries. You've comforted sick children with magic tricks, and you've read to an elderly patient from her Bible one night. Today, we largely celebrate your academic achievement, but I know that you have so much more to offer than your intellect. Indeed, it is your energy, your curiosity, collegiality, and compassion that will allow you to contribute to our profession in so many ways. I'm sure that I join our faculty and all of your family and your friends in telling you today that we are so very, very proud of you. Now, with so many talented students in this year's senior class, it must have been really difficult to select one student to be our graduation speaker. But I can also see why you chose Greg Rory. I actually first saw Greg not as a medical student, but at the gym at the Homewood campus one night. I was swimming at the pool there, and after my swim, I went upstairs to the basketball game. Now, I'm a Duke graduate, so I'm an avid basketball fan. But the game I particularly remember was the Hopkins game with Washington College. They were playing for a position in the Division III championship. The game was close. It was exciting. It went into overtime, and Hopkins won. But there was one player, the captain of the Hopkins team, who seemed to be in control, seemed to be the person that this team looked to, if I might say, the Michael Jordan of Hopkins basketball. And that person was Greg. Not only did Greg excel on the basketball court, but he also had a distinguished record of academic excellence and community service. After graduation, Greg delayed his matriculation at medical school to be, as far as I know, the first Hopkins graduate to play professional basketball. Well, we too have seen all the qualities that Greg showed as a college student. He has been dedicated and committed and has generally shared his time with those who are less fortunate than he. I'm sure it'll probably come as no surprise to learn that Greg will be pursuing a residency in orthopedic surgery, and he will return to his hometown of Rochester, New York, where he will complete his training at the University of Rochester. Greg, we look forward to your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Herlong. I promise I didn't pay him to say any of that stuff. So much has happened since our first day in September of 1999 that I had a tough time deciding what to talk about today. I'm not sure that in just 5 minutes I can paint the perfect picture of what medical school is all about. What I am sure of, after 4 years of lectures, is that speaking in a big, dark room at 3 p.m. is the fastest way to put my classmates to sleep. So with that in mind, I promise to keep this short. From day one, we knew what an incredible privilege it was to be a medical student. What we couldn't appreciate then, but what is so clear now, is how fortunate we are to have Johns Hopkins as the stage for our medical debut. The school's mission to teach, to research, and to care for patients has attracted the brightest physicians and educators from around the world. And along with these pioneering doctors come some of the most intriguing patients. patients that teach us more than just the signs and symptoms of their diseases. They open our eyes to the true definition of struggle. It's not suffering through a long pharmacology test or learning to suture on a cold pig's foot. It's not studying for the boards or even matching to a residency that wasn't at the top of the rank list. Instead, true struggle is being sick. It's a newborn in the intensive care unit. It's a lifetime of kidney dialysis. It's a disease without a cure. But amazingly, these same patients that already bear a heavy burden allow us rookies the opportunity for hands-on learning, such as delivering a baby, shocking a failing heart back to life, and comforting a dying patient. Unfortunately, in this new era of specialization, we may not have such a variety of experiences ever again. But that doesn't mean we won't continue to learn. In fact, medical education is a never-ending process. Dr. William Osler, the forefather of Hopkins medicine and one of the greatest physicians of all time, once wrote, "The hardest conviction to get into the mind of a beginner is that the education upon which he is engaged is not a college course, not a medical course, but a life course." Now that doesn't mean that all of the minutiae we memorize will be what makes or breaks our careers. For example, most of us will never again think about the subtle histological differences between IgA nephropathy and post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. In fact, I couldn't even spell those words right now. However, tidbits of knowledge like these, no matter how fleeting, did help us get good grades, pass the boards, and become well-rounded students. Even these fine achievements pale in comparison to our most important accomplishment of all, that during our 4 years at Hopkins, we learned how to learn. This means when all the facts and figures that we memorize become obsolete, we will still have the analytical ability and the skeptical minds to navigate the floods of medical data in the years to come. In Dr. Osler's words, this is what it takes to be a student practitioner and to evolve with your education. In fact, we've evolved a little bit already. When we started this journey, we were naive and nervous. The pockets of our short white coats overflowed with the tools that define a medical student: Palm Pilots and review books, tongue depressors and gauze pads, rubber gloves, and the ever-popular Hemocult cards. But by the 4th year, we had traded everything in our pockets for a little bit of wisdom and a carefree, post-match day approach to life. And when you think about it, we've actually come full circle since college. We're back in our caps and gowns again, and a few minutes from another diploma, and a few hours from another dinner on Mom and Dad. And in 1 month, we start work at the bottom of the totem pole. So during the tough times ahead, we should remember what Dr. Osler thought about that 4-letter word work. It is the open sesame to every portal, the great equalizer in the world. The stupid man among you it will make bright, the bright man brilliant, and the brilliant student steady. With this magic word in your heart, all things are possible. My parting message to our class is this: even though the days ahead will be long, the years will be very short. So be passionate and cherish your privileged time working in the noblest profession of all. Good luck, class of 2003, and thank you for 4 fantastic years.
Thank you very much, Greg. I would now like to introduce Dr. Peter Maloney, Associate Dean for Graduate Student Affairs. Peter?
Thank you, Dr. Miller. I guess I have to put this down a little bit. I want to direct my remarks to our graduate students. Congratulations, class of 2003. It's all over and done with. You can breathe a sigh of relief. That sigh probably contains a measure of disbelief or exhilaration and certainly something about exhaustion. You've experienced all of those. I wanted to remind you that your degree has a very special character, though. Every degree in every discipline reflects hard work, long hours, but you have your degree in an experimental science, and that's different. Because you know there's no simple correlation between hard work, long hours, and the final product. Experiments don't always work as they are planned. That idea you had on Monday doesn't look so good on Tuesday, especially after you recalculated the data. And my bet is that you and your thesis committee at one point disagreed on the content of an experiment, how to do an experiment, or even how many experiments to do. So your degree reflects not just scholarly achievement, but patience and an ability to withstand frustration and sometimes even failure. But you also know that when the experiment works, it's all worth it. That's when Monday goes to Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, all the way through the weekend. You don't even bother to think. When you're doing the laundry or cooking dinner or even changing a diaper, you're always thinking about that experiment. It's the excitement of discovering something new that's special to your degree. So congratulations. Now, you began this process as young graduate students, eager, full of curiosity, and our role as teachers and advisors and mentors was to protect that curiosity and creativity, while we gently introduced you to the idea that, in fact, experiments don't always work. Now and then it's probably a good idea to start all over again, throw the test tubes down the drain, reclone the plasmid, and start once more. Controls really do work, by the way, yeah? But in the end, it's all going to be worth it. We tried our best to do this for you, and we hope we've succeeded, but even if you and we disagree on that, let me tell you that we are enormously appreciative of the transformation that we've seen recently as you've gone from student and apprentice to partner and colleague. We enormously appreciate your success. Now, our pride in your success comes with some cost because it does mean that you're probably going to have to leave pretty soon. What I'm going to do now to conclude is just to invite you back because I think we're going to need you. Some of you are actually going to go on to academic careers, perhaps most of you, in the traditional research-based setting. There, those skills you've learned here are going to emerge in full. Others are going to take a different pathway, and we've seen this more increasingly in recent years, considering alternative pathways. Some students in recent years, and even in this year's class, will commit themselves to teaching in a university or a college right away. They're interested in journalism. They're interested in science and health policy, in business, in law, in consulting. This is a diversity I wouldn't have commented on 10 years ago, but it's this kind of diversity that I think we're going to need in the next decade. So consider this. Even in your short time here, it really is short, it wasn't that long, even in your short time here, you have seen the inauguration of a new Institute for Genetic Medicine, a new Institute for Basic Biomedical Research, a new Institute for Cell Engineering, the establishment of a Center for High-Throughput Biology and Combinational Chemistry. You've seen new buildings go up, and by my count, in fact, we're going to have a new building every year for the next 3 or 4 years. Most exciting of all is the prospect on the horizon of an 80-acre biotechnology park just to the north of us, across Madison Street. You've seen the beginnings of that. And so I hope you appreciate, just as you as a class in the aggregate are exploring several pathways, the School of Medicine is doing exactly the same thing. We're trying to marry the traditional academic-based research with that experiment in biotechnology. Now, that is an experiment, and it can't fail. We want to try as hard as we can to make it sure it doesn't fail, and so we're going to call on all of you to come back and help us. We need faculty to fill those buildings and institutes and centers, and we'll call on those who've done postdocs for that. But we need people who can teach us how to communicate with the public, teachers and journalists. We need people who will understand the intersection between law and science and medicine. We need people with business experience to deal with biotechnology, and so on and so forth. So I'll end by inviting you to return, and if you can't really return yourself, please send us your best students and your most promising proteges, we all know that if they're as good as you are, we really don't have to worry in the long term. So congratulations, good luck, and I hope to see you soon. Good. It's my pleasure now to introduce our graduate student speaker. The speaker will be Derek Neal Jans. As Derek is coming up, let me describe a little bit about him. He received his Bachelor of Arts degree in biology from the University of Colorado in Boulder. And as many of our graduate students, he then took that chance to explore an alternative career and worked in a small biotech company in the same city. He came to us in 1977, 1978 in the program of biochemistry, cell and molecular biology. He now works in the Department of Biophysics with Dr. Jeremy Berg. He was chosen, I'm sure, for his scholarly achievement. His curriculum vitae lists 8 or 9 publications ready to appear or that have already appeared. But I somehow suspect that he's been also chosen because he too is continuing to pursue this alternative career. You know that he's a writer of some note. He has written a number of articles for the Graduate Student Newsletter. He has, I believe, an insightful view into the character of Johns Hopkins School of Medicine faculty, into the nature of the graduate student experience, and an exhaustive knowledge of the nightlife available to students like you. Okay. So it's my pleasure to introduce Derek.
I gave up on my pro basketball career a long time ago. Thank you, Dr. Maloney. I can only hope that wherever I end up, the faculty and administration are as capable and accommodating as they've been here at Hopkins. They're holding my diploma until I finish the speech. So. Every year, my lab is involved in a community outreach day where we bring a group of inner-city fifth graders to Hopkins, and we show them how fun and colorful and explosive science can be when it's done properly. I am, on these occasions, afforded the opportunity to explain to this group of youngsters, most of whom are not overly enthused with school in general, why I have deemed it necessary to pursue my formal academic training well into the 21st grade. In doing so, I cannot help but to put myself into their position and remember my perceptions of adulthood as a school-phobic fifth grader myself. That was an age when being a scientist meant melting your action figures in the sandbox and then recombining their limbs to make super action figures. Playing doctor usually happened on a coffee table in the basement and was likely to get you into trouble. It was an age where even the most minor accomplishment would make my dad proud and make my mom cry. I don't think I would have been surprised at that point to learn that I would be awarded my PhD on a cloudy afternoon in May 2003, when I was quickly approaching, but had not yet reached, and so was still an eternity away from my 30th birthday. Certainly, however, I would have been very surprised to learn that I had reached this point in my life and did not have a house or a family or a Ferrari or a helicopter or a lightsaber. I had this dream back then of one day owning an enormous mansion next door to Mom so she could still do my laundry and put food coloring in my milk to make it taste better. I envisioned Dad spending his retirement mowing my lawn and watching football with the robot that I'd built to clean my room. My brother could have the little bedroom. But then none of this has happened. A realization made all the more painful by the fact that all of my college friends who went on to be engineers and programmers and financial planners actually have spouses and houses and helicopters. So, in these moments of intense imaginary introspection, I'm forced to ask myself whether or not it was all worth it. Whether the ends have justified the means, or if I even understand what the ends are. We came to Hopkins to learn about the processes that make life possible, but have we done so at the great expense of living our own lives? Obviously, that's a question that everybody has to answer for themselves. We all came here for different reasons, and we all hit different bumps along the way. Some of us hit them twice. I know there were days when I said that graduate school was the best period of indeterminate length in my life. And there were also, and I started in 97, not 77. There were also days when I would have said it was not altogether unlike hell with longer hours and HIPAA training. In the end, we all made it. Some of us found what we were looking for. Some of us did not. Some of us found that we were looking for the wrong things. So was it worth it? I've consulted my inner fifth grader. He's not concerned about postdocs or publications. He wants to know where we're going to dinner after the ceremony and why I have to return my hood to the rental company when this is over. He only knows the world right now because all of time is stretched out in front of him. There are no regrets, no what-ifs, when everything in your imagination is still possible. He knows that the only certainties in life are that expensive shoes make you run faster, and the Orioles will finish somewhere just under 500. He knows that whatever set of events and circumstances got me to this moment is the only set of events and circumstances that I need to concern myself with, because the world is not likely to run out of families and lightsabers anytime in the foreseeable future. So was it worth it? I don't know, you have to ask yourself. We are the basement doctors and the sandbox scientists playing grown-up for the first time. We must move forward now with a childlike sense of possibility and try and understand life rather than biology. We know that food coloring changes the visible emission spectrum of milk, and that makes it taste better. So for my part, I will say this. It was all worth it if somewhere in the audience I've made my dad proud and made my mom cry.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Ilyas Zerhouni, the Director of the National Institutes of Health, to be this year's commencement speaker. This is a rather easy introduction for me since I've known Ilias both as a colleague and a friend since 1994 when I arrived at Johns Hopkins. I came to Hopkins from New York City, but Ilias' trip to Baltimore was a little bit different than mine. Ilias was born in Nadroma, Algeria, one of 8 children. He came to the United States at age 24, having earned his medical degree at the University of Algiers School of Medicine in 1975. He came with his wife, and his wife happens to be Nadia, and happens to be sitting right over there. It was reported that when they arrived, they had somewhere between $300 and $400 in their pocket. It is also reported that they arrived at night, and they stayed at the old Sheridan Inn that was on the East Baltimore Medical Campus. His wife looked across the street and saw the lights and said, "Ah, Ilias, we have finally arrived at Johns Hopkins." The next morning when they got up, it was noted that Nadia was not looking at Johns Hopkins, but rather the garage. Ilias started his residency in radiology and completed it in 1978 as chief resident. He was made assistant professor in 1979, and between 1981 and 1985, Dr. Zerhouni went to Eastern Virginia Medical School in the Department of Radiology. He came back to Hopkins in 1985, appointed associate professor, and was made director of the MRI division in 1988. He became a naturalized U.S. citizen in 1990, and he was appointed as full professor here at Hopkins in 1992. In 1996, he was appointed the Martin Donner Professor of Radiology and Professor of Biomedical Engineering and became the chair of the Russell H. Morgan Department of Radiology and Radiological Science. During the initial years as chairman of radiology, he made significant advances in imaging in the management of the department. In 1997, I asked Dr. Zerhouni to help with several issues that were confronting Johns Hopkins medicine. Ilias took on the role of helping to reorganize the Clinical Practice Association, to develop a strategic plan for research, and to begin the process of building a framework for the biotech park north of medical school. Ilias was my executive vice dean before his appointment to the National Institutes of Health, the position that was confirmed by the U.S. Senate on May 2, 2002. At the time of his appointment, I was asked my comments. I remember clearly saying to Ilias as he was going through this process that the nation needed his expertise. My comments to the press stated that while Hopkins had lost a wonderful individual, it was truly our nation's gain that we have someone of Ilias's caliber leading the major medical research institution in the world. Many of the people at Hopkins know Ilias very well. He is known to be a superb scientist. He is known to have clear thinking and great managerial skills. He truly is a visionary where medicine needs to move in order to make significant strides in decreasing the burden of illness. I could go on and tell more about Ilias, but I think everyone in this institution knows that Ilias embodies the core values of Johns Hopkins medicine. He operates at the highest ethical standards, and there could be not a person that is more collegial than Ilias. I personally cannot be more proud that my friend has agreed to give this year's commencement address. I would like you to welcome Dr. Ilias Zerhouni.
We have to get that down too. Well, it's really an honor and privilege to be here, and every time I go to an event these days, you get a wonderful introduction by people who don't necessarily know you. But this one is special because Ed Miller was my friend for 6 years. We worked together for Hopkins, and really I know that this is a heartfelt introduction because most of the others are justified by the fact that now I run an agency with a very large budget. On the other hand, I'm also honored and privileged to be with you today and share in your celebration here at Hopkins, the place that has become my intellectual home and family and has given me so much ever since my wife Nadia and I arrived in America. Now I am at the NIH, and as we say at the NIH, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. For universities, really, there's no greater day than seeing a new cohort of bright graduates entering their professional calling, and I can feel the satisfaction of your faculty today. But as a parent, I can also feel and share the joy of your parents today. In 2 weeks from now, I too and my wife will be attending the graduation of our 2 sons. So I'm sure that your parents remember very well your first days. And I know that they were love-struck by your appearance in this world. I also remember, and they remember, the many days of hoping and worrying and rooting for you. So I know they are in awe today at the miracle of your transformation from a vulnerable child to a formidable doctor today at one of the most prestigious schools of medicine in the world. You are their legacy to this world, and they deserve our and your heartfelt recognition for doing such a good job with you. But I'm also pleased and honored to be with you today to celebrate your official commencement as what I will call my new colleagues, who will share the great adventure and the great challenge that medicine will be in the 21st century. In fact, I will dare say that life sciences and their applications will be the central challenge of the 21st century, bar none, and here's why. About 14 billion years ago, we were told by astronomers and physicists, our universe started. And it started with a Big Bang, a cosmological Big Bang. That was the first Big Bang. About 5 billion years ago, planet Earth was formed. And 4 billion years ago, somehow, primordial molecules that mysteriously self-assembled began replicating and evolving into ever more complex life forms. And this is what I call, in my mind, the second Big Bang, that of life on Earth. And then about 100,000 years ago, emerged from Africa a group of at most 10,000 individuals, as based on the studies of genomic variations across all humans, no more than 10,000. And they are the founder population, which is the origin of all of us on Earth. So through genomics, we realize how much closer to each other we are than we ever thought. Somehow, at that time, the human brain developed the insatiable need to know itself and the world around it. As human intelligence emerged, it created what I call the third Big Bang, the Big Bang of the mind. Now, this has profound consequences for you today and for us all. Think of the speed, first of all, at which this has happened. If you just consider the 100,000 years of our history as a species, and just think of that portion of time in the 4 billion years since life started, and just think of the moment we're spending together here, an hour or two, that 100,000 years will be less than a few hundred milliseconds of our being together here today. Much faster than an eye blink. Now, the 50 years between the discovery of the structure of DNA and the completion of the human genome a month ago would be just a few microseconds. And in these few microseconds of research, we have learned more about life than life probably took 1 billion years to create. That is explosive. But let us stop and consider for a moment the importance of this explosion as we stand at the edge of the century. In fact, our mind has allowed us to escape, in many respects, the natural laws of evolution by enabling a unique form of information transfer between individuals, between groups, and across generation through education. The human mind, I will dare say, has changed the game of life. I think we're witnessing an unprecedented form of accelerated adaptation that no longer requires mutational variations and selection of natural traits, as you well know from Darwin's theory. And those traits being selected over many generations have always ensured the survival and dominance of our species. But in the space of a few centuries, mostly through scientific and technological innovations and our innate social abilities, we have changed our planetary environment in both good ways and bad ways. It's occurring at a scope and a pace that is unprecedented. And this, in my mind, creates evolutionary stresses for our health and the health of the world. What I mean by that is that our genetic makeup that has been fine-tuned by centuries of a predictable environment cannot so quickly adapt to the speed at which we're changing our living conditions. And I'm going to give you just a couple of examples. A few centuries ago, salt, table salt, was more precious than gold. Very few people had access to it. Today, it's available in large quantities, contributing to the worldwide problem of high blood pressure. This is why a few days ago, NIH recommended that we lower our dietary intake of salt by 50% in the next 10 years. I'll give you another example. Until a few decades ago, food scarcity was the rule on a global scale. Today, with food oversupply, obesity has emerged as a public health issue of major proportion. Why? Because the majority of our genes has been selected over eons to prevent starvation by promoting lipid storage. Very few of our genetic pathways, as we study them currently, are designed to deal with food and salt oversupply. Well, that should be no surprise, because we've only known, and in many parts of the world continue to know, only starvation and hard physical labor for millions of years. So I could give you more example of what I think is a historic collision between our makeup acquired during the second Big Bang, the Bang of Life, the Big Bang of Life, and the third Big Bang, our ability through our intelligence to change our environment. And this is coming, I believe, to an acute point in this century, and that will require a tremendous amount of commitment from you, from society, your innovation, your creativity, and a speeded up process of discovery and learning and adaptive learning, because I really think this is a race, if you will, between our education and research and our ability to leave to our children a healthy world. The race is on between our knowledge of biology and our ability to maintain a healthy world for future generations. This will require the combined talents of all disciplines of science, and I was glad to hear that amongst you, you have chosen very diverse pathways. It will require that. It will require new ways of thinking and organizing scientific efforts, as well as the energy and creativity of new generations of scientists and professionals like you. Now, I've just shared with you an overall context for our society, the edge of the 21st century, and the challenge that you will be facing as I see it, but also the opportunity that you can bring to this world. Now, what are the best strategies for you to navigate these challenges? And I'd like, at this point, to share with you some of my personal rules of the road. As new graduates, you need some rules. You will learn them yourself. But I'd like to share with you those I've learned over 20 years since I graduated like you. I call these rules my 50-50 rule, so let's start with them. I think you'll like some of them. The first rule is that 50% of what you've learned so far is probably wrong. And 50% is probably right. Now, your challenge is going to be to figure out which is which. And that reminds me of the old story of the paper that was submitted to a journal, and the reviewer said the paper was both good and original, but we could not accept it for publication because the part that was good was not original, and the part that was original was not good. So every day, whenever you hear something or hear about something, always ask yourself, wait a second, what is the part that makes sense and which is the one that requires caution and more work? Always question that. Always wonder how a fact that is stated to you came to be established. And you'll be amazed, actually. It's fun to see the world that way. And for me, at least, it's a source of creativity, of being able to seek a different viewpoint. And I enjoy very much the feeling of discovering something new that I didn't know the day before. Now, a word of caution. Although 50% of what you've learned so far at this school will be proven wrong, I don't think that you can use my speech to get a 50% reimbursement on your tuition. My friend Ed Miller is already choking just at the idea that you might do so. My second 50-50 rule is that over half the time, the answer to a problem will not be in your area of expertise, but will come from another area of expertise. And the history of science is replete with that, those examples. Therefore, you should always split your learning 50-50 between your core discipline and things far away from it. Actually, in my personal rules, I always made sure that 50% of what I read was radiology related and 50% had nothing to do with it. Another 50-50 rule is that, at least in my experience, I seem to become twice as smart when I'm in the company of other people, especially when they're smarter than me. So you can be assured from now on that at least half of your intelligent contributions in life will be stimulated by others through cross-fertilization. So you should seek and cultivate those interactions. Often you will hear about the spark of genius of the unique individual that leads to scientific discoveries. And that's true, but it rarely happens to people who are all alone. You need, through the curiosity-seeking interchange of many smart people, that stimulation that, yes, sometimes in one of us will spark an insight that will lead to a breakthrough. Another illustration of the 50-50 rule is the remarkable number of scientific duos who receive Nobel Prizes. You know about James Watson and Francis Crick, and closer to home, our own Dan Nathans and Hamilton Smith. Look at the legendary productivity of groups of scientists that came from famed laboratories, such as the Cavendish Laboratory. So discovery, creativity, innovation is an eminently social process. So that's another one of my 50-50 principles. Make sure that at least half of your colleagues and friends are from beyond your own milieu. Promote diversity, cultivate it. One of my closest friends and inspiration, for example, is an accountant, of all people. Now, a frequent objection to that approach is that, one, you can look foolish because you ask stupid questions when you don't know much about the topic that you really don't understand. That's true. You will look foolish many times, and you can see it's not deadly. You can survive it. I'm here after having asked many, many stupid questions. The only stupid question is the question you don't ask. Another objection is that if you talk too much about your ideas, someone is going to steal them from you. My response to that is, one, my ideas always got better by talking to other people. And two, if you have ideas that are so easy to steal away, they must not be that good. And three, in my experience, most people don't believe really your really good ideas. For me, the few novel ideas I've ever had were criticized, they were rejected, disbelieved, they were not accepted for publication, and more importantly, they were turned down from funding by NIH. So, as any rule that's made simple for the purposes of a speech, let me give you some exceptions. First, as you heard from Dean Miller, your personal integrity should never be split. It should always be 100-0. Your reputation is your only capital. Never risk it. Second, in affairs of love, I do not recommend the 50-50 approach. Now, that would be deadly. And last but not least, do not have half dreams. You know, just as surely as a small box cannot contain a larger box, a full life cannot be contained in a small dream box. At the end, it's not failing that is painful. It's not having tried. So make sure you have a big, bold, grand vision for yourself and go for it. That's the message that I would like to leave you with. As my new colleagues in the most noble profession of ours, I congratulate you and your parents, family, and friends on this great day. Take the time to enjoy today. As you heard from the previous speaker, make sure you have a great place to go and enjoy, because these days are memorable, and what you need to do is make sure that you will never forget it. You are tremendously privileged, and you're tremendously able to provide hope for the world. Just do it. Congratulations to all. May God bless you.
It's a privilege for me to announce the student awards. A number of awards were announced earlier and are listed in your programs. Today, I'm going to announce special awards and those that the students will learn about for the first time today. Students with outstanding academic records are elected to Alpha Omega Alpha Honor Medical Society in their senior year. The following members of the graduating class have been elected to membership in Alpha Omega Alpha. As I call your name, please stand so that we can recognize you. Brian Cheesebro, Amy Drake, James Frazier, Gregory Gatto, David Hernandez, Jeremy Slade Hubbard, Colleen Johnson, David Kazarowski, Erica Kaiser, Daniel Mudrick, Matthew Pipeling, Christian Ruff, Matthew Schwartz, Garrick Stewart, Michelle Tarver-Carr, Travis Tierney, Amish Shah, Hadley Wood. Congratulations. In recognition of excellent academic performance during their studies in the School of Medicine, the following students have been elected to Phi Beta Kappa: Chi-Ling Chow, Xiaoling Li, Young Ma, Heather McClung, Daniel Mudrick, Michelle Tarver-Carr, and Travis Tierney. Congratulations. Many other students in their senior class have already been elected to Phi Beta Kappa during their undergraduate years, and I think we should acknowledge that also. So would those students who are already members of Phi Beta Kappa please stand? The Warfield T. Longcoat Prize, it recognizes that graduating student whose performance in clinical medicine exemplifies in outstanding fashion the academic excellence and the human qualities that mark the true physician. This year's recipient is Garrick Stewart. Could you please come forward, Garrick? The Helen and Harold Harrison Award recognizes a student for outstanding proficiency in the field of pediatrics. The recipient this year is Pamela Frischmeyer Guerrero. The William Stewart Halstead Award recognizes a student whose proficiency in the discipline of surgery is deemed outstanding by the faculty of the sections of surgical sciences. This year, we have two recipients. The first is David Kazarowski, and the second is David Hernandez. The Sylvan Shane Prize in Anesthesiology and Critical Care Medicine recognizes an outstanding medical student who has chosen a career in the field of anesthesiology. The recipient this year is Michelle Petrovic. I should also note that Michelle was a recipient of a Henry Strong Dennison Award, which she received earlier this year. Not in time to get in the program, but that should also be noted. The Emily Sims Haller Prize is given to a student who excelled in the required clerkship in obstetrics and gynecology. This year, the winner is Oscar Vasquez. This is particularly noteworthy because Oscar is pursuing a residency in orthopedic surgery. The Society for Academic Emergency Medicine Award is given to a student who demonstrates excellence in the specialty of emergency medicine. This year's recipient is Sarah Hazlett.
The Rogers Award was established by the Johns Hopkins Health System in honor of David E. Rogers, Dean of the School of Medicine from 1968 through 71. The awards are presented annually to two students who exemplified the highest standards of professionalism, medical ethics, and community leadership. The members of the graduating class receiving the awards this year are Anne Catherine Gaddy and Crystal Chanel Watkins.
In the next few moments, we will be presenting a number of awards to the faculty. On behalf of the Johns Hopkins Alumni Association and the School of Medicine, it is my pleasure to present the 12th Annual Excellence in Teaching Award to Dr. Craig Hendricks. Dr. Hendricks is an associate professor in the Division of Clinical Pharmacology and Infectious Disease, as well as an associate professor of pharmacology and molecular sciences for the School of Medicine. In addition, he's an associate professor of epidemiology for the Bloomberg School of Public Health. The Excellence in Teaching Award was created by the Alumni Association to recognize faculty from each of the Johns Hopkins divisions who demonstrate an unparalleled commitment to teaching students at both the undergraduate and graduate levels. Dr. Hendricks is no stranger to training at Hopkins, having completed his residency here in 1987. He remained at Hopkins for postdoctoral training, completing fellowships in infectious disease and clinical pharmacology. He is recognized by his peers and his students as a professor whose commitment to medical education is evident in both classroom and clinical settings. Dr. Hendricks? The W. Barry Wood Jr. Award for the recognition of outstanding preclinical teaching was granted by this class in 1999 to 2000 to Dr. Michael Choi of the Department of Medicine. Dr. Choi? I'll give him that. The House Staff Award recognizes outstanding clinical teaching by a member of the House staff, emphasizes the importance the students attach to the value of House officers and teachers. The House officer receiving the award this year is Dr. Paul Faforia of the Department of Medicine. Paul, will you please come forward? Must be liked, right? The Graduate Student Teaching Award recognizes that faculty member whose skills as a teacher, role model, and advisor are regarded as exemplary by graduate students. The member of the faculty receiving this award this year is Dr. Jeremy Nathans, professor in the Department of Molecular Biology and Genetics, Neurosciences, and Ophthalmology. Chair. The George J. Stewart Award is presented to an outstanding clinical teacher in the School of Medicine selected by senior students. The recipient this year is Dr. David Hellman in the Department of Medicine. David? The recipient of the Professor's Award for Excellence in Teaching is nominated by professors on our faculty and is selected from amongst those nominations by a committee of faculty, professors, and representatives of the House staff, medical students, and graduate students. The winner of the Professor's Award for Excellence in Teaching in Basic Sciences is Dr. Jonathan Bubsner, Associate Professor in the Department of Neurosciences. Jonathan? And your father would be proud. Thank you. He's here, isn't he? His father's here, and he's proud as well. The winner of the Professor's Award for Excellence in Teaching in the Clinical Sciences is Dr. Pat Thomas, an Associate Professor in the Department of Medicine. Dr. Thomas. The Bernice W. Crosby Distinguished Achievement Award was established in 1986 in recognition of outstanding contributions to visual communication and medical sciences. This year, the recipient of the Bernice W. Crosby Distinguished Achievement Award for scholarly contributions to the advancement of art as applied to the medical sciences is Alice Lipson, a 1954 graduate of art as applied to medicine. For over 40 years, she has contributed a phenomenal body of marine data of the Chesapeake Bay and coastal waterways through her authorship and illustrations. Her art has enlivened scientific publications, and her name has become recognized internationally for the beauty and the authority of her illustrations. We want to take this opportunity to recognize her outstanding contributions as an illustrator, scientist, her dedication to aquatic life in the Chesapeake Bay, and her devotion as a Hopkins alumna cum laude. Ms. Lipson, come forward, please. When I introduced our commencement speaker, Ilyas Zerhouni, I described to you many of his professional accomplishments. Today it is my pleasure to add to the list of honors that we have bestowed upon Dr. Zerhouni to present him with the Dean's Special Recognition Award. This award is given in recognition of exceptional service to the institution by a member of the Johns Hopkins family. Ilyas, will you come forward?
Will recipients of Masters of Arts degree and Doctor of Philosophy degree prepare themselves to be hooded? Recipients of the degree of Master of Arts, will you please come forward so that we may present you with your diplomas and hood? Mr. Gary Lees, Associate Professor of Art as Applied to Medicine will begin by hooding the MA candidates in Art as Applied to Medicine. Our first candidate is Oscar Renato Beza. Next will come Anne Marie Bustani. Alice Meredith Phillips. Dana Christian Rose. Emily Green Shaw. And Tiffany Ann Slaybaugh. Our next Masters of Art candidate will receive her hood from Dr. Robert Casero, Jr., the Department of Oncology. Please step forward, Tracy Marie Stewart. Recipients of the Doctor of Philosophy degree will now come forward to receive their hoods. I should remind the audience that this degree was conferred and diplomas were presented to this class at this morning's university commencement ceremony. Please come forward to receive your hood. Now for the audience, let me note that the candidates are listed in the program in alphabetical order for your information. For your entertainment, we will call them to the stage in order of the alphabetical order of their advisor's name. You'll have to figure out which is which. Our first candidate is Adam Seth Haberman, who will receive his hood from Deborah Andrew, the Department of Cell Biology. Our next candidate is Yong Ma, who will receive his hood from Philip Beachy of the Department of Molecular Biology and Genetics. Next to the stage is Gregory Joseph Gatto, Jr., who will receive his hood from Jeremy Berg, the Department of Biophysics and Biophysical Chemistry. You will note in your program that Greg has won the Michael Shanoff Research Award this year. Our next candidate is Derek Neal Jans, no stranger to this audience, who will receive his hood from Dr. Berg. Wei Lu will receive his hood from Dr. Philip Cole, the Department of Pharmacology and Molecular Sciences, and the Department of Oncology. You will note that Dr. Liu also received an award, the Alicia Showalter Reynolds Award this year. Our next candidate is Wen-Chen Shao, who will receive his award from Qidang, Department of Medicine, Department of Pathology, Oncology, Cell Biology, Molecular Biology, and Genetics. Karen I. Zeller will also receive a hood from Dr. Dang. Our next candidate is Mi Rong Song, who will receive her degree from her hood from Anavran Ghosh, Department of Neuroscience. Lisa M. Simakowski will be hooded by James Hildreth, Department of Pharmacology and Molecular Sciences and Department of Pathology. Now, James will stay on the stage because he has another student coming up, Deborah Green Nguyen. Beg your pardon. Again. Kakwilin Yogi is our next student, also to be hooded by Dr. Hildreth. It's been a good year for Dr. Hildreth. Sanjay Kumar will receive his hood from Yan Ho of the Department of Physiology. Lisa Christine Terzo is being hooded by M. Daniel Lane, Department of Biological Chemistry. Aurora Faye Escala Kirscher will receive her hood from Sejin Lee of the Department of Molecular Biology and Genetics. Gang Shou will receive his hood from Hai Levitsky, Departments of Oncology, medicine, and urology. Christopher Joseph Young will receive a hood from Elliot McVeigh, Department of Biomedical Engineering, also Department of Radiology. Bridget Kelly Kelm receives a hood from Susan Michaelis of the Department of Cell Biology. Deborah Lynn Silver is next, and she will be hooded by Denise Montel, Department of Biological Chemistry. Now, Deborah has 2 awards I might mention. She won the Martin and Carol Mock Research Award this year, and also a national award, the Harold Weintraub Award, administered through the University of Washington. Ready? Good. Now, the mentors of the next group of candidates could not be here today with us, and so the graduate students have selected Dr. Jeremy Nathans to confer the hood. The first of these students would be Christine Evelyn Foster. Kate Chu. Cynthia Ann James. Anita Krithivas. And as a special surprise, actually, Diane Hayward, her mentor, couldn't be here, but the departmental director, Philip Cole, will do the honors. Xiaoling Li will be hooded again by Jeremy Nathans. Crystal Chanel Watkins is our next candidate. We'll see more of Crystal later on, as you'll note. Fred Young Tao Wu. And again, Diane Hayward couldn't be here and asked Philip Cole to do the honors. Thank you, Jeremy. Our next graduate is Jonathan Robert Brody, who will be hooded by Gary Pasternak of the Departments of Pathology, Cell Biology, Medicine, and Oncology. Good job. Mariam Redman will receive a hood from Jerry Prince, Departments of Biomedical Engineering and Radiology. And Lisa Erin Olson will receive her hood from Roger Reeves of the Department of Physiology. Next is Shiling Chu, receiving her hood from Scheherazade Saged Nasser, Department of Pathology. Ji Sun will receive a hood from Dr. Ronald Schnarr, Departments of Pharmacology and Neuroscience. Maurice Anthony Smith receives his hood from Dr. Lawrence Schramm, Departments of Biomedical Engineering and Neuroscience. Maurice was the winner this year of the David and Israel Mock Research Award. Monica Hirmankova-Jung receives her hood from Dr. Janet Silicano, Department of Medicine. Yen Che Sai will be hooded by Nitish Thakor, Department of Biomedical Engineering. And Dennis Lewis Barber receives his hood from Xiaoqing Wang, Department of Biomedical Engineering and Neuroscience. Dennis was also a winner of a David and Israel Mock Research Award this year. Joseph Yuan receives his hood from Dr. Paul Worley, Departments of Neuroscience and Neurology. Karen Ann Pinko will be hooded by Joy Yang, Department of Cell Biology. And Xingyang Wang will receive his hood from Donald Zach, Departments of Ophthalmology, Molecular Biology, Genetics, and Neuroscience. Please congratulate our class of 2003.
Will the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Medicine please come forward so we may present you with your diplomas and hoods? Homa Ahmad. Teng Bao. Dennis Lewis Barber. You will note that this is Dennis's second trip to the stage today, having received his PhD degree earlier. Rachel Olga Blubon Langner. James Marlowe Blum. Meredith Rockymore Brooks. During her time in Baltimore, Meredith also received a Master's of Public Health degree from the School of Public Health last year. Darren Cornell Burton. Darren arrived at Hopkins with a law degree from UCLA, and last year also got a Master's of Public Health degree. Paul Dennis Campbell, Jr. R. Colin Carter. Eugene Seppa. Raquel Francine Charles. Rochelle Candace Charles. No, you're not seeing double. Rochelle and Raquel are indeed sisters and twins. Brian Burgess Cheesebro. Jean-Paul Chrétien. Earlier this week, Jean-Paul received a PhD degree from the School of Public Health. William Lincoln Corbett III. Krishanda Michelle Curry. John David Dorfman. Yoav Dory. Yoav had earned his PhD degree from the University of Minnesota 5 years before he came to medical school. Matthew Peckham Doherty. Amy Colleen Drake. Arvand Elihu. Carol Fakhri. Carol is being hooded by Dr. Zahuni, a former faculty member and, oh, by the way, our speaker today. Kevin William Farmer. Jared Ruben Hillel Foran. James Lewis Frazier III. James Van Rensselaer Hunt Freeman. Last year, Jim got his Master's of Public Health degree from the School of Public Health also. Pamela Ann Frischmeyer Guerrero. And you will recall that Pam received her PhD earlier this afternoon. Selena Fu. Anne Catherine Gaddy. Gregory Joseph Gatto Jr. And this is also Greg's second trip to the podium today. Molly Cummings Gavin. Ziad Fuad Jalad. Ziad is being hooded by his father, Dr. Fuad Jalad, who is on our faculty in the Department of Radiology. And Ziad had also received his MPH from the School of Public Health last year. Rachel Lynn Glazer. Rachel is being hooded by her father, Dr. Bruce Shapiro, who's on our faculty in the Department of Pediatrics. Jenna Day Goldberg. Michael Falk Goldberg. Mike is being hooded by his father, Dr. Mort Goldberg, who's chair of the Department of Ophthalmology at Hopkins. And Mike also received his MPH last year from the School of Public Health. Raquel Elizabeth Gomez. Noah Elliott Gordon. Anthony Lawrence Guerrero. And husband of Pam Frischmeyer Guerrero. Tim Henry Guimont. Heather Ann Halverson. Kari Harmon. Sarah Hazlett. David Joseph Hernandez. Tang Ho. Should also note that Tang arrived at Hopkins with a master's degree from the University of Edinburgh. Jeremy Slade Hubbard. Nadine Alditha Jackson. Last year, Nadine also received a Master's of Public Health degree from the School of Public Health. Muriel Jean-Jacques. Colleen Joy Johnson. And Colleen has a master's from MIT. Thomas Sunjin Young. David J. Kazarowski. Adil Kaiser. Erica Ann Kaiser. Bill Kakamoto. David Peter Kale. Min Peter Kim. Ricardo J. Komatar. Sanjay Kumar. Frank Robert Lynn. Lawrence Liu. Brendan Patrick Lucy. Troy Edward Madsen. Susanna Lovell Matson. Heather Ann McClung. Jennifer Mary Michael. Andres Messer. Daniel Joseph Molura. Sean Ryan Moore. Sean also has a master's degree in public health, which he acquired at the University of Virginia. Lauren Virginia Moran. Daniel William Mudrick. And Dan received his Master's of Public Health degree last year from the School of Public Health. Marianne Elizabeth Nellis. Rick White Obrey. Sang O. Siddharth Ashok Padia. Walter Guagup Park. Shetal Natu Patel. Oliver Perez. Michelle A. Petrovic. Matthew Robert Pipeling. Atif Nazir Qasim. Rita Rastogi. Brandy Reese. Gregory James Rorig. Rachel Aaliyah Roisman. Christian Thomas Ruff. Karen Jennifer Rebeck. And family. Matthew Charles Schwartz. Abe Javed Sheikh. Anandi Nayan Sheth. Vladimir Sinkov. Greg Matthew Slater. Maurice Anthony Smith. And this is Maurice's second degree today. Garrick Stewart. Carolyn Beth Suffren. While in medical school, Carolyn also received a master's degree in medical anthropology from Harvard. Michael John Schwartz. Michelle Elaine Tarver Carr. And Michelle also received her PhD degree from the School of Public Health. Travis Tierney. And Travis arrived at Hopkins with a Doctor of Philosophy degree from Oxford University in the United Kingdom. Vivian Tsai. Nywin Diane Tu. Christine Terzo. And this is Christine's second degree today. Ami Alok Shah. Oscar Vasquez. Melissa Ann Vitale. Benjamin Lawrence Wakefield. Alice Wang. Daniel Wong. Crystal Chanel Watkins. And this is Crystal's second degree today also. Eric Spencer Weiss. Hadley Wood. Troy Donovan Woodard. Dylan Yu. Joshua Adam Zeichner. Congratulations to you all. Senior students at medical schools throughout the country at graduation affirm their commitment to medicine through the Hippocratic Oath. Today, you will join that group. The oath you will recite today was actually modified from the original one years ago by Hopkins students who felt that this oath would reflect their special commitment to the ideals of our profession. Would the graduating medical students please stand and repeat with me the Hippocratic Oath? I do solemnly swear by that which I hold most sacred that I will be fully committed to those I serve, and just and loyal to the profession of medicine and its members. That I will lead my life and practice my art in uprightness and honor. That into whatsoever house I shall enter, it shall be for the good of the sick, to the utmost of my power. Holding myself aloof from wrong, from corruption, and from the tempting of others to do vice. That I shall exercise my art solely for the care of my patients, and will give no drug and perform no operation without justifiable purpose, far less suggested. That whatsoever I shall see or hear of the lives of men and women, which is not fitting to be spoken, I will keep inviolably secret. These things I do promise, and in proportion as I am faithful to this my oath, may happiness and good repute be ever mine. The opposite, if I shall be forsworn. Congratulations, doctors.
Please be seated. I will try to follow the advice that a university president once gave a prospective commencement speaker. He said, think of yourself as the body at an Irish wake, he said. They need you in order to have the party, but no one expects you to say very much. You have learned much in the great and prestigious halls of academia in preparation for your professional careers. You leave these halls with knowledge, with skills, with insight and dedication to put all of this training and education to work in the betterment of your art or science or practice. And now you embark on a scary journey, moving from the theoretical to the practical, as you embark on your career goals. I once overheard a chief resident asking a department chair some questions about the secret of a successful career in medicine. I think it applies to all professions. This highly regarded faculty physician paused for a second and said, "I can give you an answer in only 2 words: good decisions." The resident wasn't satisfied. "I believe you, but how do you know how to make the right decisions?" "Well, I can answer that question with only 1 word," said the faculty member: experience. The resident still wasn't satisfied. "But how do you get experience?" "I can also answer that in 2 words," said the faculty member: bad decisions. Life gets more complicated from here on. Embarking on a career is less predictable than getting your education. Experience happens. As you move forward from this day, you make your personal mark on the world, but you never stop learning. Your decisions count. Observe the results. Learn from them, or someone else will. Because those decisions will affect more people, a lot more people than just you. May God grant you the courage, wisdom, skill, and confidence to face the difficult and challenging days ahead. And may you also find the time for the joy and love of family and friends on this special day and every day. Blessings on you all.